I can't wait to hear both of your perspectives from yesterday because that was insane watching it on TV.
It was, I'll be honest, I didn't know what I was seeing. Like the processing time took way longer than anything else. I thought right away he had hung a throttle.
Yeah.
I was like, man, my man's hung a throttle. And then it kept coming around the
Same
corner.
thing Burton said.
Yeah.
Like your initial, that's what I was trying to tell somebody this morning. It's like, what'd you think when you saw it? I said, everybody that was there was watching it happen and then reacted.
Yes.
It was 4 seconds.
Oh, yeah. There was a moment of silence and amazement.
Nobody predicted it. Nobody was like, hey, guess what's getting ready to happen?
Oh, yeah.
And then nobody, while it was happening, went, yeah!
Yeah.
We all were going, everybody, the whole damn place was going, is that real?
Right.
Was that real? You know what I thought about? You know how I assume Rick Allen thinks about how he's going to call the final lap? Bet he didn't think of that one.
So Rick posted something to Instagram because I was standing. I never bother him on the final lap. And now we've worked together for 8 years. And he's calling the 11 and he's calling the 20 winning, and it's great. And I'm watching him watch the monitor. And I'm looking out the window thinking, trying to process it. And I just very calmly kind of tap him on his shoulder a couple times, and I'm pointing out the window. And we talked about it today. He goes, I knew when you were tapping me, something must have been happening because, that's not a normal kind of act. And then he looked out the window and called it. But it was, it took a while. I'll be honest, the first replay didn't look any better. Like the first time I saw it on replay, I'm like, I even hit the production. I'm like, man, do we have that sped up? Or
y'all
is that,
messed up. Right.
Yeah, like, so we got something wrong. Is it like in slow motion? Can you slow half the cars down? What have y'all done?
Yeah, it didn't look right. It you know what it kind of looked like? If you've ever watched that like short track speed skating, but the long races where they are sort of doing a relay, and so you got to go generate a lot of speed on the outside or inside where the others are going slower.
Everybody's seen this, yeah.
Yeah,
it's a good example that everyone in the world can relate to.
I was getting ready to Google it just to get an idea.
You've watched the Winter Olympics. I mean, if you've seen a Winter Olympics, yeah, you've seen that.
Sure.
Well, look, there's not a lot to pull from on that, right? Is there a lot to pull from? I mean, trying to make sense of what that looked like. It didn't look right.
Never. So there was there's part of you that's like, I've never seen it before, but then we have. We just hadn't seen it work.
That's right. The point. It's never worked.
That's right.
So I pulled up the data. His speed sensor quit, unfortunately, in the middle of the corner. But he was at 130 miles an hour when the sensor quit. And the guys running the groove, Denny Hamlin, went 61 miles an hour through the middle of the corner. So if you say he slowed down to like 120 to be conservative, he's 60 miles an hour faster than the same car. So that's basically, driving 10 miles an hour down the interstate and let a guy go by you at 70. That's what it felt like for the guys in the race.
Ooh, my gosh.
So I was, thinking about why it didn't work before. And I think it has a lot to do with the shape of the bodies. And so if you did that with a truck or an Xfinity car, it'd wedge and grind to a halt because of those flat, quarter panels and the skew in the body, especially the truck. And the old Cup cars had that same sort of scenario.
So I think it's mostly tire.
Yeah.
Well, you're right, but like if you look at this car out here, if you look at like the profile of an old tire, the sidewall, if you laid a tire down and you put a level on it, that's probably an inch or two down to the edge of the wheel. Right, like there's an inch or two sidewall, like a bulbous, like a balloon sidewall.
Yeah.
So when the tire hits the wall, it's rubber on wall, man. It's like a go-kart brake. It drags you to a halt. Well, if you go back and look at still shots of this one car, the end of the hub, like where the single lug nut goes, it's damaged, and the wheel has damage. The tires still have air. He didn't even knock the air out of the tires. So I think that it is like the ends of. I think it's all of it added up. The body definitely works. It kind of gives out of the way. It doesn't have the wedge shape like you're talking about, kind of pinching it into the wall. I think that it's almost metal on metal. It's like a slot car. I think the ends of the hubs kind of hit the wall, and it just sparks. Like if you go back and watch it, there's smoke and debris from the stuff on the track, but it's not like there's white tire smoke. Like the tires aren't even rubbing the wall to put white tire smoke up.
Yeah.
Then you add on top of that, this is the only track I know of that we don't run high gear. So if you go back to the in-car, he goes to fifth gear. So
that he never ran all
correct
day.
So now he has a 25 miles an hour that no one else is needing. Like, for instance, say there was no
That's
fifth
amazing.
gear. Say there was no fifth gear, right? He'd have turned right and stayed in the gas. It'd been all cool, but he'd been on the chip like 100 feet later. And the thing would have just ground to a halt. No, my man, he reaches down, the data blows your mind. Throttle, it doesn't move. He doesn't lift 1%.
Really?
It is flat, like it's broken.
Really?
Grabs fifth gear. It's the last time he blips the throttle to get the fifth gear, and then it is on the wood all the way through the corner. But that's the point. I think so. A lot of things. First of all, the car made a huge difference. Second of all, Martinsville, you're slowing down to make the corner, unlike Darlington, Miami, other places we've seen, Kansas. They're big, high-speed tracks. Martinsville's the slowest mid-corner track there. I mean, there's a lot of things that made this work, none of which would have made me do it.
Right. So, in other words, luck was involved. We can all agree on that. But the fact that he grabbed fifth gear and did some of the things makes me also go, find me a driver that thinks like that.
Have you seen the radio? Heard the radio?
No.
So he comes by like out of 4, coming to the white, and the guy's like, all right, white flag. And someone, I'm assuming crew chief. No, it starts with the spot. He goes, we're two spots short. And then someone says 2 points. And Ross says, we need 2, and the person emphatically says yes when he leaves turn 2, and he doesn't lift again. So I don't know if this was like a plan. And the best part, Brandon McReynolds is a spotter, and he is in the fence. Everybody in the world is crazy, and he's like, yeah, you're doing good. Just keep it up there. Yep, there you go. Calm as can be. And I'm like,
what?
Like, did y'all talk about this? I want to know if somebody talked about it. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I don't know which way you want to take this. I've got so many questions. So, Dale,
Go for it.
Well, okay. There were drivers that said that was embarrassing for the sport, and it wasn't just Larson. There were others that spoke up, but Larson said the most, probably direct comments that weren't in support of what Ross did. Where do you guys stand on that?
Well, so the racing purist didn't love it, but the racer loved it. Like, he advanced well within the rules, well within the confinements of that racetrack for the car he had that day and the rules and he was competing. I give him an A+. Should be celebrated. We always talk about do whatever it takes. Ross has taken that to a new level of doing whatever it takes. Do I want to continue to see it? I don't. But that doesn't mean it was wrong. Look, there are rules in the rule books probably that have my initials next to them. Oh, yeah. You messed this up. We didn't like it, so we changed it. Like, it's okay. I mean, the NBA had to come up with 3 seconds of the lane because Wilt Chamberlain or somebody just stood there all day and dunked the basketball, and it was like, well, this isn't a very good game. This is boring. We better come up with a rule. Like, there are a million rules in the rule. Every rule in the rule book is a reaction to something. So, and here's why. What Ross did took a tremendous amount of skill, courage, all of the above. For the next guy to do it, I'm going to be less impressed. Like the first guy, bravo. Unbelievable. But the next guy, well, now you're just copying the guy who kind of showed you how to do it. So I don't need it. I would rather perhaps not ever see it again as an option. But that should in no way diminish what Ross did because it was an option. It wasn't against the rules, and he pulled it off.
I feel the same way about it. Don't want to really see it again. Fine if NASCAR comes in and makes a change. The drivers getting out immediately on pit road and talking about it, they sound salty, like like a jilted ex.
Yeah.
Somebody that didn't get credit for it. Somebody that has done it before.
Right. That's right.
And did it, didn't succeed. So that's the way it sounded to me, to an extent. And because I saw the reaction right after the race, and I'm like, what? Why would you have an opinion like that? So this is a big moment. We just saw something incredible. Not only do we got a guy that won his way through, celebrating, crying his eyes out on front straightaway, we got another guy that did something that will be remembered forever. Mm-hmm. And Ross changed everything about his career in 18 seconds.
Oh, yeah, that's fair for sure.
Yeah.
Like, his identity is
now,
everything that he a lot is talked about Bubba being suspended, and they're like, man, you've had a good year, and people are going to overlook all that because of what happened with you and Larson. And I think that's fair. He's going to have to work. Well, Chastain did the same thing. It doesn't matter what happened to the first 34. Like, he is now baptized by the race fan. He is free and clear of anything else that has happened. He is now the wall-riding guy from Martinsville. Yeah. That's his signature moment, and it's a pretty cool moment to be your signature.
Yeah.
It was an impressive. Listen, the only guy that maybe could have got away with being salty was the 11, and he was the opposite.
He actually was impressed. He said, brilliant.
Yeah.
So that's where, listen, I'm going to celebrate it for what it was, which was that. It was brilliant. It was courageous. There's a bazillion adjectives. The truth is, He deserves.
Somebody said on social media, well, now, do we want to see all of them doing it on the last lap at Martinsville? And somebody's reply to that was, would be no advantage to no one then at that point.
Yeah. Well,
know?
I don't think they can. I don't even know that Ross could replicate that the way he did it, because frankly, I do think that there was enough elements of luck involved in that, especially where the cars were placed on the track. Like, you know, I see people debating about NASCAR making a rule to prevent other drivers from trying it. Look, that thing was risky. That was a low reward, high risk move.
And it's going to be even more high risk next time. That's why I think a rule needs to be changed, because why it worked this time, there's a long, long list. But the other reason why it worked is because no one, including Dale, myself, Rick Allen, and every fan in attendance, thought it was going to happen. So no one was defending it. So now take the same move. He's committed, wide open, fifth gear, 100 and whatever miles an hour. What happens if what happens if Joe Logano hangs a right to defend it? I mean, Chastain can't
He would, right, yeah.
That's my point. My point is it becomes an even riskier move, because I think now that you've seen it, the next time you go to Martinsville, if it's still allowed, you're going to defend it, which makes it even more out of control.
If you enjoyed that conversation we had with Steve Letarte, you ought to listen to the entire podcast. The Dale Jr. download is available on all major podcast platforms.